Got another video request. This one's from Gypsy Hustle. Gives me lots of good video requests. And here's another good one. Video request. If you suddenly inherited a vast fortune and became immensely wealthy, how would this affect your life? Would you become more generous, or would you become more materialistic and selfish? How much influence does having money or lack thereof impact your daily life? How has money been important in your daily life? Do you feel you would gain much benefit from being a multimillionaire as opposed to earning a normal American salary such as 40 grand per year? What would you spend your money on? Thanks. Ooh. If I suddenly inherited a vast fortune, let's say 100 million bucks, what I would do is I'd buy a building. No, actually, the first thing I would do is I'd travel around the world with my mom for as long as she wanted. She'd probably burn out on it after like 3 months. But so we'd go to Scotland first, then we'd do Greece and Rome and Egypt and just stay in nice hotels and luxury, and do the luxury tours and all that kind of stuff. And then I'd come home and I'd buy a building, and I'd invite my brothers to come too, obviously. But and then I'd buy a building right here in Boulder, like a big office building, and like maybe, I don't know, five or 10 stories or something like that, and or maybe 5 stories. I wouldn't want to make it too big, but the very top floor, I'd make it all one, like one room, and I would live there. I'd put my bed, like in the middle of one of the walls. And I would, like how the Japanese cordon off rooms with those like screens. I would, cordon off my room over there, my privacy area. But then I'd have just like a big like common area with a whole bunch of animals. I'd have a straight up like zoo, animals and plants and all that good stuff. And it'd be like, have you seen Zoolander? And then Zoolander went and visited Owen Wilson and Owen Wilson's house, and he just, like in his house, he just had all kinds of weird people there doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It would be kind of like that, like just all kinds of like cool like things you could do there. I'd have like a little mini gym there, and hot tub, and maybe even like a half pipe for skateboarding like you did. I don't know, but anyways, the rest of the levels would be office space. And I'd hire like an army of people to basically do my bidding, like do all the legwork that I do on my timeline and stuff. Because most of the work that I do, it's something that I could easily delegate off to somebody else. I'd get people to, I'd instruct people to finish my timeline. And just watch as the progress goes, and just have them do the like I'd say like put this border on all of the castles here, put this how so I would just go ahead and get that finished. And if I had an army of like 20 guys, I could get my timeline finished within a couple months. And then I'd got the timeline, and then the great history test would be to fill in the blanks from the timeline. The borders of all the different things, within the timeline would be there, so it would kind of give you a hint of what to fill in. And then I would create a testing, a big test, that you'd have like 6 hours to finish it, and certain amount of points for certain things within the timeline. And so whatever score you get, that's how good you are at history, and it's the great history test. And then I would have, and I'd divide it up between like, like the great history test that you'd have 6 hours to do it in, and then I would just simplify it, like the more, like how many of them can you fill in 1 hour, and you get more points for like inventions than you would for putting like a famous person or something in one of the blanks. And and then I would proceed to develop a test for like politics as well, and also like an information map for politics. And I'd create and I'd make a like the test for like science and the test for chemistry and just all the different subjects. I'd create a giant map that you could, kind of like my timeline, like a big thing on the internet to consolidate information down. Like speed reading. People are really into. See, my timeline is really kind of conducive to speed reading. Speed reading, and I should do a video on this, but speed reading is it's a skill that people do to read through a book just to get the gist of it if they want. So, you keep your eye out for certain words and stuff. Well, then people should design words for speed reading, with different colors of word that mean certain things and different fonts and stuff. And just to help you find those spots within the paragraph to help you speed read. If you're going to look for a certain kind of word, then color code it and make it easier for the speed reader. It's not just about reading; it's also about designing the literature for the speed reader, like a speed reader book. And people will do that pretty soon. I don't know if anybody else has thought about that, but I would. But that's kind of like the little history information maps I'd make. And then make the test, and then I would go and try to get the government to sponsor that, to incorporate it into the culture, our culture, so that people could have the option. If they're trying to get ahead in the world, one way is to have a certain degree with your GPA or whatever. But the other way, if you don't want to deal with school because you just don't want to be anybody's, slave, and you can think for yourself, and you don't need somebody to take you by the hand and guide you. You just don't go to school, but you study yourself to pass, the law test, And for like law, I'd make like like maps of all the big Supreme Court cases and all of the different. And then I'd help get people to help me design my my personal website with all of the my opinions of all of the political issues and religious issues and stuff, and to use as a blueprint for everybody to have a website like that, to have a clear and concise way to demonstrate what you believe about everything. And then, after I boil down, and I'd spend a certain amount of my time, like exercising. While I exercise, I'd be listening to the audio of all these things, to keep myself getting smarter and smarter and smarter. And once I figure everything out, I'd try to run for the public office, to just have the power to actually change laws to make it so that you don't have to have a degree to get a job, and to get the government to kind of put their stamp on approval on all the different tests. And then I would advertise all that stuff, and as far as my house goes, like the way that the office works, I would have a because it would be like a big castle, I'd be like the lord of the manor, and I'd live there, and the groundskeeper, I'd get some person who didn't already have a place to live, like maybe a homeless person or something, somebody who would be happy to live in the building and be the groundskeeper, so that every day it'd be like a full-time job. They'd go around and feeding the animals and watering the plants and cleaning the place and stuff, and but they'd live there, so it would kind of they would be my friend, and we would and then they would do errands for me and stuff, and I wouldn't have as many of those people as I needed. I don't know, if one didn't do it, maybe I'd have a couple or whatever, and they'd have their own like little apartment within the building, and yeah, I'd let people, people would be able to work within the building if they wanted to, but or work at home or whatever. But I'd want them to show up and have like group meetings and stuff just to talk about what we're doing. I'd want everybody to be plugged in to what everything is doing. And I know the people who work for me on all the different projects, I'd have them like rotate around and have them just work on whatever project that they wanted to. Try to keep them, keep the work that they do varied, so that they don't get bored doing one thing. But because the work that they do would be pretty simple. A lot of it would just be data entry and that kind of stuff. And anyways, as I go along, I get more and more ideas of different digital, websites and stuff to make. I'd make lots of different YouTube videos. I try to make a little mini country in there. I would televise the entire, like my entire life. I'd put cameras all over the building, and I'd get somebody to edit it all out to make like a YouTube channel of just the daily life of me, and then I'd have another YouTube channel of like the group meetings that we have where we talk about stuff, and then all of the different meetings I have. I'd open up, I'd make it like a media thing, right? So I'd have a news channel. So like I'd go into a room and there'd be like the newsroom, and I'd go and I'd do the commentary, and I'd even get somebody to be like one of my like talk show co-hosts and stuff, and we talk about that, and kind of like the Young Turks. I'd have one of those. I do that for like a half hour in the morning, and then I'd go and then I'd go off to the next level or whatever. Like each level would be a different one. So like level 1 would be the history timeline. Level 2 would be like the political map. Level 3 would be the news show room. Level 4 would be another one of those tests I'm working on or something like that. And I'd pay people bonuses for creating their own personal websites, just like mine, with their own like political ideas and stuff, to motivate them to do it. Because I try to make the people who work for me, and I don't know how many people would be in the building. Maybe like I'd have like 100 people or something working for me, and enough people where that I could like know each of the people personally, and they could each like be one of my friends, and there wouldn't be too many that it would be like what. Like it would become impersonal, But I'd make sure to pay people to, because I would look at all of the people who work for me to be model American citizens. So I would like the way that my vision of what American citizens should be. So yeah, I'd pay them to like all take the different tests and try to get as high of a score on all of them as they could, and to create their personal websites with all of their ideas. And then also I'd pay them extra to upload YouTube videos talking about their opinions of stuff, and having little channels for little person like daily news channel and daily vlog, and even filming them. So all the different like playlists that I have on my website, I'd try to get other people to do it, like the workout videos and everything. And I'd pay as much as I'd have to get people to actually do that. And I try to hire people who'd be into that. I would invite people from all over the world to come work in the building, and I'd try to make it as the incentives to try to get the best people in there, and to get them as motivated as I could to complete all that kind of stuff. And so here, let's see what other questions we have. How would it affect my life? Well, it basically it'd make it a lot more complicated, but I could accomplish a lot more. Would you become more generous, or would you become more materialistic and selfish? Well, I would try to make as many incentives as I could for people to do what I want them to do, fulfill my vision. Now, I wouldn't be like a manipulative, like bossy guy, because everything, like all the stuff I want them to do, it's all self-generated anyway. They're the boss of their own thing, right? Like their own website, their opinions about everything. So, but I would try to motivate them to do that. So I would pay them, definitely a competitive salary. And, it would be a fun job anyway, but I would still be as frugal as I could be with my money, because $100 million for a big project like that, was, it's still, I'm still gonna, it's not enough money to like do whatever I want. So like, like the building itself will be a couple $1,000,000, so, or a few million. So, there goes a big chunk right there. So, I wouldn't be like giving my money away, I wouldn't be like raining dollars every weekend at the disco or something like that. I'd be as frugal as I could be. I'd pay people as little as I could to get them to do what I want, but I'd probably have to. People they'd get more money than they would in any other kind of situation. But I would hire the people who I would hire would be young people who haven't been like indoctrinated or in any kind of establishment or anything. People who I could get away with not paying that much. And then if they, not because I'm like greedy, but because I don't think that somebody like who has like an advanced degree or whatever is any smarter than somebody who doesn't. And I think I can trust any normal person. Even like the janitor dude, could get just some homeless dude, who's never had a job, and I'd put him in charge of all that. And if he can't handle it, I'd become his like daily psychologist coach to like, you can do it, and tell him all the ways that he can do it. And if he couldn't hack it, then I'd have to get somebody else. But yeah, I get like young people, I think I get like 20-year-olds and stuff, because they would be, besides, they'd be more, into what I'm doing. I think they get it, because it's kind of different from status quo. So you could get young people to be like, oh yeah, I'll do my own thing. I'm down with making a site like yours and a channel like yours. Yeah, let's do it. And then they'd be able to do all the data entry and stuff. But I would pay, like if they needed a new skill, like if one of the people who worked for me needed a new skill, I would still pay them full time, but I would have them come in and work part time, and then the other part time of their full time job would be to go to school to learn, or maybe if it's online, not even go to some other school, but learn online within the building a new skill that I need them to do. Like a new programming language. I'd want a lot of different programmers to do all the different like fancy computer stuff. But I wouldn't need it that fancy. You don't need that much technology to do what I do, because I want to help people make websites that you could learn how to make within a day, like so that normal people can do. And the kind of web design that I do is super simple. It's like Dreamweaver. It's kind of like Microsoft Word, and you can learn it in not that long. So how much influence does having money or lack thereof impact your daily life? Well, if I had that much money, it would completely change my life. I'd become like I could create the stuff that I could create a lot faster. And but how does not having money impact my daily life? It makes me a stronger person to not have money, more disciplined. Like if I have to eat nothing but canned fruits and vegetables, then I will. It's easier to do that. And so my approach is, if I don't have any money, then I don't complain about it. It's just fine, because it's makes me more have a simpler life. And if you have a simpler life, you have more time to do, put your time into studying and learning and doing things that doesn't cost any money but helps you. So not having money can actually be really good for somebody's ability to accomplish learning for themselves and create a website or something. For them, like the one that I have. How has money been important in your life? Well, money has been really important. It's allowed me to do the stuff that I do. Like without money, you can't really, like me, I couldn't do what I do if I didn't have, like a little bit of extra help, I don't, like, I make like $7 a day with YouTube and stuff, and so if I had $100 million, that would be that'd be a boost. I need money to get by. I can't generate money myself. That's not one of my skills. It's not in my skill set. Do you feel you would gain much benefit from being a multimillionaire as opposed to earning a normal American salary, such as $40,000 a year? Yeah, I would gain much benefit, because I'd be able to do all that stuff and create all that stuff. I mean, I can still create it myself though, anyway. But I would be able to do it 100 million times faster if I had 100 million bucks. What would you spend your money on? Yeah, that's what I would spend my money on that building, and to create like the mini America, the mini ideal America. And then I'd spend the rest, and then, now when I run for office, I wouldn't spend money running for office though. I would, because, I would, when I run for office, to try to get these changes implemented, like such as, taking regulation away from like individual people, like you don't, like you have to have a education degree to become a teacher. People if they want to hire you as a teacher, they should be allowed to hire you as a teacher without an education degree, and allow people to have more power within their own little locality. And I'd come up with all these different like political ideas and then try to push them. And then when I run for office, I would just I'd spend my money on advertising my ideas, like on Google AdSense and stuff, on YouTube, and that's what I would do. But I wouldn't buy like expensive time slots on the TV, and then I would do like tours around America where I give speeches and stuff, like promoting my ideas, and I use my money to be able to do that. But I'd be really really frugal about it. I wouldn't like how people these days spend so much money like with ads and the little signs and all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't do any of that, because I would try to be running in the way that I think normal people should do without that much money, just to sharing your ideas, that doesn't in a way that doesn't cost any money, like in your website. Like, hey, this is what I think, and look at my website, and da 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 da, and boom, that's it, just simple. And then I would get other people, somebody else to run alongside me, as and they could, not alongside me like they would, they vote for him, that other person, and me, but they could vote either me or that other person, and I would encourage them to try to make the little promo videos for themselves, and come up with the ideas, and because they would be like my little litmus test for the average American, to try to like aspiring politician or something, to try to do it in their way, and then I would, just to motivate other people to do it. I would, that would be their job. I'd pay them to do that. And if they win and they beat me, then no, that's great. Yeah. And then as soon as if my mom, like in the next year, wanted to go on another vacation, I'd go on another vacation, or to like a new country, like Machu Picchu or something, the luxury tour over there. And as far as trying to make a way to like keep the money going, so that I don't run out, I don't think I would have any in that situation. As far as like starting a family, I don't know if I don't know if I would. The advantages of not having a family is that I wouldn't have to feel like financially responsible for anybody. So then I could focus all of my money on my projects. If I didn't, but if I had a lot of money and enough left over, and I met the right like person to raise a family with, then yeah, maybe I'd do that. And I want to have at least 2 kids. But like in a way to like make, I guess I would invest, like that's how, like rich people, most of the money they make is from investments, and so I would invest in ways to try to make money, to keep the money going. I think these days you can invest in stuff that's good and make money off of it, like renewable energy. And of course I'd be really famous. So that's one way it would impact my daily life. And I think I'd have enough money to go on the rest of my life, and I do that as long as I could. And when I die, I would I try to set the whole system up so when I die, the building gets I would turn my whole like building an operation into a think tank for improving and developing on the like the national tests and the creation of energy. I mean of information. I'd try to be a contributor to the development of libraries. Somebody did a video or a request video. What do I think about the future of libraries? But yeah, I'd be like a consulting, to try to make really good like educational places. Like set up libraries with. I wouldn't pay to set up the libraries, but I would spend the money on like coming up with ideas. Like I'd pay to set up one library, and then it could be the model library for the other ones. People to use their own money to set up other ones, like with all the different information maps all over the walls. And anyways, that's another video. I haven't done that one yet, but that's what I would spend my money on. And I might do a couple of. Yeah, I think I would like to do. See, I would try to stay fit. I would like exercise. I'd multitask. I like ride my bike on the rollers and run on the treadmill while I'm listening to while I'm working on the computer, with the mouse in my hand and stuff. And then when I go on like a bike ride, I'd be listening to the audiobook and stuff. So I would be like getting smarter and staying fit at the same time. And so then maybe I'd take vacation. I think I'd take a vacation every year, like 3 weeks a year, something like that, month a year, and go bike touring or something. Maybe I would do a big vacation where I'll like my kayak trip. I'd still want to do my kayak trip. But if I'm famous, I wouldn't want to do anything like that. If I'm famous, yeah, I might not want to do it like an adventure. I wouldn't want to expose myself out to the world. I'd keep myself safe. And I would buy, I think I would buy a Lamborghini Countach or something, but I'd have like one sports car, and then I'd keep my van, and then I'd have like one sports car, and yeah, and anyways, yeah, and then of course as time goes on, I get more and more ideas, but that would be what I would do if I had a whole bunch of money. Peace out.